Fresh off Happy Valley's recent AGM, I'm joined today by Executive Director David McCann, newly appointed Non-Executive Director Kevin Bush, and CEO Greg Wood. Gents, welcome to InvestorStream. Greg, I'd like to start with you first, if I may. What's the latest from the ground in terms of the company's operations?
Yeah, hi Alex, thank you. So we've got three key areas we're focusing on at the moment. Firstly is getting the site ready for construction, and we're finishing off the earthworks that we started earlier in the year. The second area is continue to talk to a range of global customers for offtake. We've already contracted 36% of our volume once operational, and we're getting a lot of interest from a range of parties across the globe. And the third area we're working on is around milk supply and planning around how we're going to go about that in the new year. Thanks,
Greg. Now, David, as a founding shareholder of Happy Valley, can you talk us through the market dynamics that you're seeing at present?
Yeah, I mean, the market has changed a lot from when we started it. It was all about infant milk formula. Today, it's all about food of the future. It's about lower runs. It's about a higher value product, so lower volume, higher value product. And in talking to some of the conversations we're having with clients around the world, it's looking for products that they haven't really fully identified the SKUs or the channels to market yet. But it's a wider range of nutritional products aimed at a wider audience, which particularly in Southeast Asia and China is going to be a booming aging population. So we're quite excited about it at the moment.
Thanks, David. Now, turning to you now, Kevin, given that China is a very big buyer of dry milk products, is there a risk that the project could be too dependent on sales to China?
I think there's not a risk at this stage. What we're taking is a very portfolio-based approach to our offtake partners. Some of our key offtake partners we've already secured are Americas-based and European-based. So China for us still remains an opportunity and a greenfield site more than a risk, which is something that's extremely positive for us as we move forward.
Thanks, Kevin. I'd like to go back to you, David, if I can. How does Happy Valley establish itself in the market, and what's your point of difference?
The easy way to establish itself is by its manufacturing capacity. I mean, we're a new plant. We can produce lower runs of higher value products, so the shutdown period in between the runs is less onerous on the production. And it's just hard. It's just hard for the commodity plants to do that, and they can't do that. And I know globally there's a need for these plants, and that's why we're getting the likes of binding contracts from global suppliers. They want to secure this as a race for supply at the moment.
Thanks, David. Now, Kevin, you joined the board officially at the AGM last week. Can you give us some background on your career and the experience that you bring into Happy Valley?
Yes, so I spent the last 13 years in the infant formula section, working for Danone, which is one of the global leaders in early life nutrition. I spent 5 years as sales and finance director in ANZ, and then spent the last 6 years living and working in China and Hong Kong as managing director for our business units in those countries. So obviously, I've seen it all move and grow over the last sort of 13 years as infant formula has really taken off to become a global powerhouse in terms of business, but also been fortunate enough to experience firsthand the markets of China and Hong Kong, which has driven a lot of that consumption. So I think what excites me about Happy Valley is bringing that experience and learnings into the categories that David's talking about. We've seen a move as the population gets older into this elderly and aging nutrition. And I think that's going to be the next big thing, similar to what infant formula was the last 13. And Happy Valley, and the reason why I came back, is uniquely positioned to take advantage of that in terms of our facility that Greg's building and managing, and optimising that high-end food for the future, high-end nutrients as we move forward into packaged goods and branded strategies.
Thanks, Kevin. So what attracted someone of your calibre to work closely with the Happy Valley team, and where do you see the growth over the next 12 months?
So I actually was been part of Happy Valley journey for about 5 years. So I'm one of the initial investors back from about 5 years ago. So I've been following the journey with David for a long period of time, and I've always been excited about having the manufacturing capability closely linked to the sales and marketing side to really drive innovation in a much more agile way than what a traditional organisation like Danone or Fonterra is able to do. So I think that's what excites me. Obviously, being in the sales and marketing side of things, I love bringing new products to market in new segments and love doing it in such a way that we can add value to the consumer in terms of long-term health benefits. And Happy Valley is the only facility I've seen in the last 12 or 13 years that can truly bring that innovation alive efficiently and effectively.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, Greg, I'll finish with you. With the new year rapidly approaching, what's the company's key focus over the next 6 months?
So look, our key focus at the moment is around securing our funding, first and foremost. But in the first half of next year, it's all about ramping up people to go into the construction phase. We will be looking to secure more offtake in that period of time, and we will be commencing milk procurement. So there's a lot of activity planned for the next 6 months, and it's an exciting time.
Thanks, gents. We've had a couple of questions come through from investors following the AGM, and we'll be getting to those very shortly.
Yeah, so firstly, in terms of our cash burn, we've secured our senior debt financier out till December of next year. So we've got funding until at least 12 months from today. We are talking to a range of parties with regards to the main funding, from private equity to debt funders that play in the agri and food space. And we're also talking to brand owners and manufacturers globally, and there's strong interest out there.
Look, I mean, the share price is a function of liquidity, and this company is incredibly illiquid. You just have to look at that and see that. So it doesn't take a lot to move the share price up or down. We've always got buyers, but it's just very, very low volume. And we haven't really been very good at communicating the news. Remember, we're a greenfield project. We're only announcing things when it's there to be announced. So I think you'll see things change now as Greg and the guys start to secure more customers, and as we get closer to securing finance for the project. From the outset, we figured that we'd struggle to find the right investor for this project in Australasia, Australia and New Zealand, because there's a mindset down there that there's overcapacity. There is overcapacity for the commodity play, but there's a complete global shortage in capacity for what we're doing. So the groups we're speaking to are primarily European and Southeast Asian and Asian. And to Greg's point, they vary from, we do have some private equity groups that are very heavily focused on food. We do have some strategic groups who are plants themselves that are looking for strategic partnerships in the other hemisphere. And we do have a couple of brand owners that we're talking to as well. So they are strategic, and our strategy is to try and find a strategic cornerstone, and then we bring in a couple of financials around them. And it's a mixture of equity and debt. Yeah, it is, but these projects are typically funded at the operational company level. So Happy Valley is a listed company. All of the assets and all of the land, etc., and all of the consents are owned at the subsidiary level. And typically the funding of this is a mixture of either both OpCo and ListCo, and a lot of that is structured upon where the investor is based from an offshore perspective. So on one instance, it could be dilutive, but on the other instance, it provides security and certainty that it's going to be funded and up and running. And it can be a very interesting dividend stream going forward.
Yeah, so firstly, we are building a very unique plant. We can stream up to 3 different types of milk. Our processing is to a very high level in terms of quality, pharmaceutical and nutritional grade. And we're very flexible, so we can flex between product ranges very efficiently, probably more efficiently than any other plant in New Zealand, Australia, and maybe globally. It's also highly efficient in terms of energy use and water use. Yeah, we are aiming to be net zero water use and net zero carbon emissions. And we're also enhancing the waterways and ecology around the properties that we own adjacent to the factory. In that regard, we are unique. We are changing the way that dairy processing is done in New Zealand. And the product offering we provide our customers is at a batch size or order quantities that is not readily available anywhere else out there.
Yeah, I mean, COVID's caused us trouble from the day we listed. We listed in the 21st of January 2020, and I think the world got hit with COVID on the 22nd of January 2020. So it's caused us consistent issues. We've had delays in securing customers. The Northern Hemisphere at the end of 2020 went into lockdown and got hit pretty heavily with COVID, while the Southern Hemisphere felt that COVID was a faraway disease. And now here we are halfway through the second half of 2021, and we've still got lockdown in New Zealand. I mean, the town of Otaurahanga, we can't go out there. Greg's still in lockdown. Australia's just raised lockdown. So yeah, it's causing us all sorts of issues. And, we have to accept the fact that these offshore investors, and they're accepting that as well, are highly unlikely that they'll get into New Zealand to do on-the-ground due diligence. So that's a real frustration. Yes, they are.
We've got a very robust milk procurement strategy. We will enact that once we've secured our funding. Until that time, we continue to plan and talk to a range of farmers.